Hello John, we've got the transmission out of your 2007 R3500. This is what it looks like when it's all apart. I'll go over some things that we found on the inside of the transmission with you, and Eric or Amanda will contact you with the cost estimates. So that's what it looks like when it's all apart. So the problem with yours was you were having stalling, or the engine was dragging down, coming to a stop. The problem is going to be with this TCC limit wear here. There's a valve inside there that will wear out the bore. We've got another video to show that, but that's really what the problem is. This is very severely worn. We're going to try to ream it, and we have to do a vacuum check and see if we're successful with that or not. But that's going to be the problem why the converter was coming on. The only thing inside the transmission that can drag the engine down is the torque converter clutch coming on, whether it's supposed to or not. This is just your pump. It looks okay. We still have to clean it and check our clearances, but we don't see anything wrong with the pump. You can see the torque converter goes inside here, and as it spins, it's going to spin these other little gears, and that's how you're going to develop your pressure. On our solenoid, or valve body, this is going to be our solenoid pack. We're going to have the different solenoids inside there, including our pressure control solenoid. If we're doing a recondition, we always change that with a new one. One other problem we see with valve bodies all the time, and that's the solenoid switch valve is going to be situated in here, and there's 3 plugs inside there, and they're kind of one after the other like that. What you can have is, if the valves will wear the bore, you get oil kind of leaking from basically one side of the plug over top of the other, and it can cause the clutches to come on when they're not supposed to, and that's very common when we have an overdrive clutch failure. So we still have to take this apart and clean it and then vacuum check it, but we're really looking for that on these units. It's very common to have that wear. This is your 4th clutch. It looks okay. We've got a uniform color on the frictions, and our steels are not heat checked, so we know that hasn't been slipping. This is going to be our 2C clutch. Same thing, uniform colors. We don't see any extra heat there, so we know that that clutch hasn't been slipping either. When we get to our underdrive clutch, you can clearly see that not all of these clutches are the same color. So you can see what this clutch looks like, and then what that one, they should have the same lining. So these clutches have been getting too hot from slippage, so we know that that clutch has been slipping. This one here is our overdrive clutch, and same situation where you can see the color here and the color here, they don't match this blackening line. This is going to be from slippage, so we know the overdrive clutch was slipping. That's why we have to look at that solenoid switch bore wear inside the valve body closely. This is going to be a one-way clutch or a Sprague. We always recommend replacing these on when we recondition them. They do have some problems, and there's also a roller clutch as a heavy-duty upgrade available for those as well. That's just a sun gear. Everything looks fine there. All the Torrington bearings, we still have to get a good look at these, but like you can see, this bearing here is broken, so obviously we're going to have to replace that bearing. But all the other bearings that we can see right now, they look okay, and once we clean them and inspect them closely, we'll know how they all are. They look fine though. It's going to be a planetary here. You can see the gears that turn, and that's going to be a big sun gear there. Nothing looks wrong there. Same thing with this planetary, it looks fine. Same thing with this planetary, it looks fine. So we don't see anything wrong with the gears themselves. This is going to be our reverse clutch. Nice uniform color there. We don't really see any slippage there. So that comes on for low gear, coming down the hill in reverse. And then this one is our reverse clutch. It's only used in reverse. It's a dark green lining, but you can see there's no slippage there. So we know that that clutch hasn't been slipping either. So this is going to be our pressure control, or our pressure sensor. So the computer uses this to determine what the pressure inside the transmission is, and then it tries to adjust. When we're doing a recondition, one of the things we like to do is this sits on the outside of the transmission. Normally we replace it with a new one just to make sure that we have good readings, but there's a piece that we can put on the outside here that plugs into here and then plugs into the vehicle harness that basically fools the computer into thinking that this reading is lower, so that it raises the pressure about 10%. And you don't really feel that on the shift quality because the computer is trying to adjust that, but it really does help stop some of these problems where we have a little bit of slippage like that. So the pressure riser, something that goes on the outside, not very expensive, but it's something that's a very good idea. When there's a chip in the vehicle, You can't use that type of thing, but when there's no chip, then very often we'll use that pressurizer because we think that it actually does make the unit more durable. So that's about what we found on the inside. As I said, Eric or Amanda will contact you with the cost estimates, and we're just going to do a quick video on the TCC limit wear on the 545 pumps and the 68 RFE style of pumps. Our TCC limit valve lives in this bore right here, and what basically is going to happen here is this valve is designed to move back and forth like that, and what we're finding is the aluminum bore is not hard enough, and so the valve is actually wearing out the bore. So instead of it going like this, we have situations where the valve gets cocked over like that, and it's actually really easy to see when that actually happens. A little bit of wear is no big deal, but when you have a lot of wear, sometimes that's so significant that we can't even fix it. So on this one here, I'll try to show on the camera. I'll take the spool valve here and I'll move it up and down. I think we will be able to catch it on the camera, but with just us eyeballing it, I mean, it's really easy for us to see. And the test, once we're done, is we seal off this port and we're trying to pull vacuum through this area here. If a valve is tight, what we end up with is around the 20 inches of vacuum. If the valve is loose in the bore, sometimes we can't even get 5 inches of vacuum. So what we're going to end up doing is we're going to bore this out, and the problem can come from like we were saying, that the bore is egg-shaped now, so instead of being round like this, the bore is actually going to go like this and kind of come out like this and go back down, and that valve has been in there and it's kind of cocking around like that. So once we put it in the jig, we have tooling that allows us to bore this and put a sleeve, but it's going to be an equal amount of material from this side versus an equal amount of material from that side. So if once we bore it and put the sleeve in, if that area where it's egg-shaped still has a gap, we're not going to be able to pull vacuum through that port like we should. So once we're done, we recheck this port, and if we have our 20 inches of vacuum we expect, then we're going to consider that good. So I'll try to move this, and you'll have to watch the head of the pick. I'm going to actually take this spool valve and I'm going to try to move it back and forth and see if we can pick it up on the camera. So again, watch the head of the pick, and if we get this right, you should be able to see it, because this one's actually pretty bad. So I'm going to move the valve now. So you see that movement there? That's going to be the valve moving in the bore, and it should be tight, and that should not be like that at all. So we don't even have to bother vacuum checking this. Sometimes we will vacuum check it, but in this situation, because we can easily see that the valve is cocked at the bore like that, there is no reason to vacuum check it. That's basically what we're seeing on the pumps on the 545 RFEs and the 68 RFEs. When that wear happens, you can have problems ranging from the torque converter clutch trying to drag on, torque converter clutch type codes, P0218 codes. You can have problems where there's delayed engagements, things like that. So it's important to actually fix that up, and if we can bore it and put in our sleeve, then that's a better than new fix. Thanks.